How do we convince Janeway to allow Majel to go down? I know Tysess just says, on my honor, I'll bring her back. Why does he say that? I don't know. What's up, party people? This is Prodigy Season 2, Episodes 9 and 10. We're at the halfway point. We're at the crest. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And just to get it out of the way up front, this was okay. Not bad, not good, not great, not terrible. Which, interestingly, is kind of how I feel about this season so far. We're at the halfway point. Can't I start to make a judgment here about this season as a whole? I can start to formulate some ideas. I'm going to save my overall thoughts for the end. But grant me this. This season, so far, I don't think it's as good as Season 1. And I'm a Prodigy lover. So I do wonder what the average person thinks. Not enough to really look it up, because I don't want to spoil my reviews. I want to be true. Okay, I want to think what I think. I do these reviews, and then there's some certain websites I will go to. That's it. I'm not surfing through reviews all day. I'm not watching a bunch of video reviews. Not getting involved in behind-the-scenes stuff. I just like to watch the show, and I hope you just like to watch this review. This is The Devourer of All Things, Parts 1, Parts 2. They kind of run together. So forgive me if I just kind of meld these into like one episode right before your eyes, like magic, presto changeo. 2 episodes become one, The Devourer of All Things. Let's find out what that Devourer is, shall we? So we're hot on the heels of Chakotay. Our crew on the Infinity needs to find Chakotay. They have the map that I guess Gwyn got somehow. I'm still not clear on how exactly that worked, but save for the last 2 episodes, we're back on the season long arc. That is, saving Chakotay, putting the Protostar back where it belongs, and saving the timeline, as it were. Time travel equals bad. Fixing time travel mistakes, that's got to be good, right? And that's what we're doing. We're going to these coordinates, but this planet that we're supposed to find, that I guess Chakotay is at, is stuck in some kind of quantum superposition that is hiding it from view. But it's not hiding it from gravity, because they notice that these asteroids are being pulled to some attractor, something they can't really see. So then they do some technobabble to reveal the whole planet. And it sounds, by the way they're saying this, that they're projecting something out to change the planet. My thinking on this is that maybe this would be better explained as changing the quantum position of the ship. Makes a little bit more sense, but from what I gathered from watching this the first time, it felt like they were just projecting something out, which is very odd. It probably takes a lot of power to do that. On second watch through and third, it still kind of felt that same way, although it felt a little bit different when the Voyager, spoilers, later on did the same thing. So, I don't know, Rok-Tahk is pretty smart, and but I'm smarter, okay? That's just a fact, alright? You should have done something to the ship, not to the planet, Rok-Tahk. Duh! What are you, stupid? Your head's full of rocks or something? Anyway, this planet, I guess, has one life sign. Another one of those planets that just has nothing on it except a life sign, so we know exactly where to go. Welcome to Star Trek. And it's a ornate, old, ancient... Was this built in the future or the past? I don't know. I think that's what Jankom says. It's a ziggurat. What that means is a pyramid with the top lopped off. Like this. That's a ziggurat. I know this because I love that word. Everybody has a list of words in their head that they just like. And when everybody asks them some kind of funny thing and they can just kind of throw in a word randomly, make a little bit of a word salad, I will often say ziggurat. Just because I like saying it. I've been saying it for a long time now. But now we're truly and fully in a ziggurat. So, grant me this this momentary flight of fancy to flex on you for a moment. Ziggurat. Ziggurat. I believe that's how you spell it. Watch that be wrong now, and we have to fix this in editing. Yeah, okay. Anyway, this seems like it was built by the Travelers. Go back to a long time in TNG. Early on in TNG, and then again later, we met a character called the Traveler. Originally, the Traveler had propelled the Enterprise far beyond known space. They availed themselves of research opportunities when they were there, and they had to be brought home, I think, again, by the Traveler. He says that time and space are not the only dimensions that we operate in. We operate in thought, space, time, thought, Traveler. He's like a big guy, alien dude, and he's got like 3 fingers or something. Like he's always doing a Vulcan kind of salute thing, but not really. And it was all very interesting back in the day, but it's from early TNG. He did show up again. Wesley did become a Traveler. Think of it like a different Q. A Q, but nice. if you could say it that way, and not all Q are exactly the same, of course. But the Traveler was always a very interesting character to me. Not exactly a deep cut because he does come back. And we also saw spoilers for Picard Season 2. In case you watched it, I don't know if anybody is really going to go back and watch it now. I'm not. But in Picard Season 2, we do see a brief moment where Wesley appears in that, acting as a Traveler. Spoilers, Wesley does appear here again. They're in this ancient ziggurat that I think is built by the Travelers because they're statues that look like Travelers. They find a door, okay? And it's like it looks totally out of place, and it's got like this kind of rotary handle design to open it, a vault door. What's this doing here? You don't have to find a door that's totally mismatched to the seemingly the time and the era that this thing was developed in. It seems like a cultural mismatch, but there it is. And all this way, I could hear it. I don't know if the characters heard it. Distant voices that sounded like, I don't know, Chakotay, Traveler, Wesley. Not really sure. But this door opens just as Jankom's about to pry it open or burn it open with his arm that turns into some kind of torch. But it opens right behind them, and this is like, oh, this is where the episode would end if this episode were really stupid. No, we're delivering here. This is Prodigy. We're giving you a lot of bang for your buck in episode 9, Devourer of All Things, Part 1. Wesley comes out, and you know the reality is, I never really hated Wesley. Like I felt like an odd one out. Like I just kind of watched Wesley walk around on the Enterprise in TNG. I don't know. It was a very safe ship. Yada, yada, yada. He's a Traveler now. This is like an interdimensional Starfleet, according to Rok-Tahk anyway. And this character, Wesley, I mean, he's showing up again in Picard Season 2, and he's showing up again here now, looking distinctly like Okana. He reminds me a lot of the outrageous Okana, who I believe was in Prodigy Season 1. And Lower Decks, I believe. Like, he keeps coming back. What is with these TNG deep cuts, you know, from earlier TNG? If you hated Wesley, I don't think this is going to help you to like him. I didn't hate Wesley, and this was bordering on making me hate him, believe it or not. Somehow Prodigy did it. They made me kind of like not really enjoy being around Wesley. I don't know. He just sounds overwrought, a little bit crazy, non-linear, not unlike aliens from the wormhole at the very beginning of Deep Space Nine. If you've seen any of Deep Space Nine, you've seen the first episode, I hope. I guess just living in non-linear time does that to a person. It makes them annoying to listen to. It makes them, I don't know, harebrained, overly dramatic, long-winded. I would have loved this if maybe you could cut Wesley's script in half. He seems like he's in a rush when he's not in when he has nothing to be in a rush about, and then other times he's wasting time when there's something he should be doing. I don't know if this is just a knock-on effect of having experienced time in a different way than we do, us being linear beings, and him, well, not being a Traveler. He has to get us in the right place at the right time to essentially save the Protostar. He goes on to mention that the Travelers, in a very worrying line, a very ominous line that it kind of went over my head the first time I watched it, but on rewatches I caught it. He says that the other travelers have fled this universe. Why? What's that about? Is the crux of this entire season actually about travelers versus these monsters? We'll learn about them later. Is that actually what's going on at the core of this season? It's kind of different. It's kind of interesting. There's like a secret war going on here. And with proportions, I would say, beyond what we've ever seen before. In that this is about time, right? And no, we've never seen sphere builders versus the Federation. That would be pretty cool if we could get to that point, but who knows? Another Star Trek Enterprise cut for you. I don't know if that's deep. I have no. What do people mean by deep cut? I keep saying that here. We're running away from these creatures that he refers to as the Loom. After a discussion about how timelines work, which feels like he's explaining it to the audience as much as he's explaining it to our characters. He's explaining that with the help of a hologram, there's timelines here, different realities, and they form a great grand tapestry. You know, it's all woven together, not unlike a sweater. He makes a sweater joke like 5 times or something in this episode. I would maybe accept 2. And that can be said again of some other characters in this episode. Too much? Yeah, I think you wrote too much. Are you getting paid by the word here? I mean, I can't help but listen to this and think this isn't Wesley, this is some Lower Decks character. I mean, respect to Lower Decks, but why is... Maybe Wesley would be cooler, hear me out, if Wesley kind of felt more like, I don't know, the TNG Traveler. You know, just, quiet, introspective, mysterious, intriguing. I don't need any more mile-a-minute characters that are getting paid by the word. I keep saying that. I don't know how this works, but there's a lot of dialogue here that I don't think we need. And our characters notice this as well, especially Dal. Captain Dal is basically telling, this Wesley character, just get to the point, please. You're doing lots of this. And what I need you to do is this. Okay? Let's get some of that going, Wesley. And this is coming from someone who didn't hate Wesley. If you hated him, I don't know if you're going to be able to watch this. I don't know. Or is this Wesley so different from old Wesley that you learn to like it again? See, there's all kinds of different things that could happen. But for me, this episode wasn't that bad. I was enjoying the action, and I was enjoying what took place. I was enjoying, the story beats, the minute-to-minute details. This episode contains just every single reference to time travel and other realities you can possibly think of. In a way, we're kind of describing through Wesley, modern Trek. What happened since, I don't know, really, Star Trek First Contact. That's actually where this began. People will say, oh, don't you mean the Kelvin timeline? Don't you mean 2009? Well, not really. Things have been changing for a while. And for me, the big switchover was when we changed we changed First Contact Day for humans and Vulcans. We kind of put the new stamp on it for First Contact. Good movie. It gets worse as it gets older, but in that moment, we just reiterated what happened in Star Trek Enterprise, the issue with Zephyr Cochrane. I shouldn't have to explain this to you if you've seen First Contact. But things have been changing for a long time, and all these things are referenced to by Wesley in a sense. Time Orb, I believe, came from Deep Space Nine. He must be talking about Bajoran Orb. Borath Time Crystals, I believe, from Star Trek Discovery Season 2. It's a real smorgasbord of timey-wimey nonsense. There I go with my favorite word for this season so far. And again, your mileage may vary on how you interpret this, but I would say that Wesley's antics in this episode are, bordering dangerously close to feeling like magic. Again, sufficiently advanced technology feels like magic, but if we're going to make the audience believe something is possible, we have to show its failure state. We have to show why it works, why it doesn't, where it came from, what are the limitations, and I just wasn't really getting a lot of that with Wesley. And this could have been way too much to get across in one episode. Exactly how the travelers work. Yeah, I know. She doesn't understand it either. The cat doesn't understand it. We're being chased down by these Loom creatures, and only Gwyn and Wesley are able to resist their time shenanigans. The Loom, you see, can slow down time. And then when time is slowed down to nothing, they actually will eat creatures that are considered an incursion on this timeline. The timeline we're in is in two states at once. This can't exist. It's an unraveling of the great tapestry, the great sweater of time, with love in every stitch, I assume. And the Loom are here to clean it up. They're like the creatures at the bottom of the ocean that eat the detritus that falls down. They nibble on the little bone chunks and things like that. An important facet of the ecosystem, in this case the ecosystem of time, and I thought not enough explanation was given in that regard as to how these Loom creatures probably are a natural part of the universe. They're eating timelines that are dead. They're eating timelines that are wrong or have conflicted in some way. I like that. I like these Loom. I wish they'd just eat everything and get us back to TOS. Not really. But it would sure simplify things a lot. And for my simple mind, I need to interpret simple things so that I can have simple fun. Unlike complicated time travel fun, as we're getting in this season. The Loom, okay, so you're saying that there's these creatures born of time, eat time, stop time, and then consume things that shouldn't exist. And since they're stopping time, no one really sees it. Gwyn sees it because Gwyn is in a superposition. She's like in a quantum phase reality, as is Wesley because of these bands. We've seen the one that the Doctor developed, and now we see the ones that Wesley has. Wesley has to find more for all of her characters. He walks around in this ziggurat, and since he's familiar with it, he knows all its secret hiding places. So he knows how to find doors seemingly through nothing to open a pocket of reality that has little supplies for himself, like guns and such. He finds one, he opens it up. The TOS jingle is coming back, and I'm thinking, is there something else in here I'm not getting? What's, just seems like some phasers and stuff. It's cool, but what, you know, he doesn't exactly pull out, like, a TOS phaser, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a lot of music for not a lot of happening on screen. I don't know. Weird thing to complain about. Like, I would not dock at points for that at all. I'm just saying, I didn't get like what the circumstance was, why this was so wonderful enough to you know, invoke the anthem of Star Trek itself. But we find the supplies we need. We create a duplicate of ourselves to I guess Wesley does this with his mind or accessing some unseen traveler technology to set the Loom, you know, on a false trail. And these Loom, as powerful as they seem, these eternal entities that consume creatures that exist in wrong timelines, they eat things and delete them from reality. If they catch you, they make it so you never existed before. That's how they destroy the timeline. Or, indeed, eat a timeline that shouldn't be there to begin with. Very, very, very scary. Very ominous. Really made me think. Unfortunately, I kept thinking. And I couldn't help but wonder, why are we not seeing the true implications of this? If that creature ate anything that exists in this timeline, it removes it from the past. Okay? That's devastating. If you just remove one thing, the way I see time travel, that would be extremely devastating. But the way it works here in Star Trek Prodigy, and probably Star Trek in general, because they just play around with time travel however they want it to work at that moment, only the big things matter, right? The little domino pieces don't matter. The big dominoes matter. And the Protostar is a big domino. And they have explained that before, so I don't know, I'm willing to buy into this a little bit. I'm not really necessarily willing to buy into the idea that the Loom can consume a Voyager crew member and not... Like, if that Voyager crew member doesn't exist anymore, and never had existed, what happens to the things that they did? They didn't do them. What if something broke, and they weren't there to fix it? And the Voyager is different now because of it. We don't know. I guess they just hope we wouldn't think about it. And if I'm honest, if I was writing this show, I'd hope people wouldn't think about it either, because that's a lot of complicated writing to do. And it's a lot of complicated things to get across in a children's TV show. like Star Trek Prodigy. We do evade the loom that are, looming in the darkness waiting to eat us by taking all of our characters into a room not unlike what was seen in TOS Assignment Earth. Do you remember that secret pilot episode for that show that would have Gary 7 or whatever? And then we just dug it right out of its crypt for Star Trek Picard Season 2. And we also dug Wesley out of his crypt for Star Trek Picard Season 2 as well. Now they're back in the same episode. PTSD I'm getting from Picard Season 2. I'm not a big fan of that season. But it's back, guys, and it looks right like it's out in 1968. So, allegedly this is a room that supervisors use to aid travelers and protect them from these loom creatures. And there's one in this ziggurat that nobody uses anymore because all the other travelers left. It's a lot to take in. It's very confusing. Again, more details required. But to be frank, do I want to get inundated with this stuff, or do I want Wesley gone? Well, as I'm not a big Wesley hater, but he's rubbing off on me. He's growing on me as like a bad rash that I keep scratching and I need to apply lotion to. In this room, we enjoy an interesting drink from a cup that looks like a Moai, and I really want it. We listen to some music, the music presenting an interesting dichotomy between the thumping, terrifying music of the loom and the stuff that's associated with this room. Hopefully the loom can't get into this room. And this room was designed to evade the loom. But as we learn later, this isn't really the case, and this place is actually dangerous. You would be forgiven for thinking that you were safe because Wesley took you to this room, and he seemed very relaxed about it. But oh, whoops, Wesley's just crazy. Yeah, I guess he's just out of his mind because he's very, very relaxed in this room, feeling like he's evaded the loom. However, the loom do get into this room. I don't know. You cannot actually defeat these loom creatures, except Wesley can kind of defeat them with his mind. Walls can stop them, and then walls can't all of a sudden. And you can have phasers set to their frequency and mess them up. It seems like they're invincible, and also kind of not invincible. I'm not clear on it. These two episodes are an exercise in not being clear about the limitations and capabilities of, well, the travelers and the loom. Our heroes and our enemies, I really understand how they fit together here. But according to Wesley, ostensibly the loom are undefeatable. Dal's going to see about that. However, Wesley is having a hard time with his calculations here. You see, he's trying to do all these different time calculations according to his computer he has that I guess he inherited from the Travelers. I don't know, although the screen has LCARs on it, curiously. We need to have all these characters together to transport them to the place where they need to be to save Chakotay. But it's not working. There's something wrong with the computer. We're having a problem. The loom have gotten into the room, and Majel has beamed down, by the way. Here's our B-plot. And I can't remember what part of this we're in. Are we in part 1 or are we in part 2? I don't know for sure. These episodes run together. Like I said, we were just going to magically turn 2 into 1. 1 plus 1 equals 1. You see on the Voyager, they've followed the, warp signature of the Infinity to this planet and repeated the process that the Infinity used to reveal this planet. And we're prepping an away team. Oh, this was so cool. Janeway was on fire in this episode in part 2. It was awesome. It was like the coolest moments of Voyager where we're like back. And I said, wow, it's action Catherine. It's action Janeway, action Voyager. This has been so... It feels like it's been 30 years since I saw this. Or shorter. I don't know. But this was crazy. And I don't know. If you're bringing back the old stuff and you're treating it well, that's kind of like a cheat day. You know, these people that are on these diets and then they got a cheat day on Friday where I can eat whatever I want. That's what these things are like for me. That's kind of like what Picard Season 3 is. That's my cheat day. And having Action Voyager here with, Action Janeway, that's another cheat day for me too. So forgive me for my indulgences here. But Tysess is leading an away team down to the surface of this, well, inside this ziggurat. We need to save these people. Our cadets are down there. Our hopefuls. And maybe Chakotay too, because we're both looking for Chakotay. And then, I don't know what this means, but out of nowhere, like, Majel says, okay, you should take me because I have a telepathic link with Zero. Okay, good idea. Majel is a cadet. It would be really bad if we got a cadet killed, although there is precedence for taking cadets. Tysess, like, out of nowhere, he just says, like, I swear on the blood of my ancestors and on the wall of heroes that I will bring back Majel. Where did this come from? Was there a scene between Tysess and Majel that I didn't see earlier? Did I miss something? Why is Tysess staking his life on Majel here? Why is Majel absolutely sure? Why is Tysess absolutely sure that we need Majel? Do you know? I couldn't understand this. It's like the writers said, okay, we need to get Majel down there somewhere. How do we convince Janeway to allow Majel to go down? I know Tysess just says, on my honor, I'll bring her back. Why does he say that? I don't know. I don't know either. We needed a scene before this where Majel confides in Tysess and they kind of form this working relationship. But we didn't get that. So instead we just have, well, Tysess is vouching for Majel, and if Majel doesn't come back, I don't know what's going to happen to Tysess because he swore on the blood of his ancestors and at that wall of heroes, oh my god, if Majel doesn't come back, that's it. I don't know what he's going to do. And you'll see what happens later. Majel, Tysess, and one red shirt, we'll call him. I mean, red is command at this time, but you know what I mean. Red. They go down to the surface. This red shirt guy is immediately killed. I think his name was Middleton. Tysess says, okay, we're getting out of here. We can't fight these creatures. Again, we're wasting time leaving our armbands not turned on, turning them on only when it's dangerous, only when the Loom show up. Then we turn it on, when it's too late. You're dealing with something that we know, as the logs, the Voyager's logs have confirmed this. These creatures can control time. I would say, guys, leave your armbands on all the time so that you're not affected by these time stoppages. And then Tysess says, no, we're going to be dramatic. We're going to put them on when it's too late. Okay. This results in the death of Middleton, and not just death, it results in the non-existence of Middleton through all of time. Tysess beams back to the Voyager and says, I knew this guy, Middleton, whatever. He was here, and then he's gone, and he's not back, and what happened, and they got him. And Janeway and the rest of them have no idea who this person is. He's been removed from time. So to see the effects of our enemy's power is very good. Like, that's a good idea. That's a good writing idea to show their power, to show why they're scary. There goes Prodigy again, good at being scary. I was terrified of Dreadnought, and now I'm terrified of the Loom. Although their design is, well, frankly, it's just more New Trek. Tentacles. I don't know what's going on here. Why do all these creatures have tentacles? The Borg get them even. What's up with this? Why do we keep doing this? The Loom, I guess they're just a big bug with tentacles coming out of their body. I don't know. It's just uninspired. Come up with something. I mean, this thing that's a natural part of the universe that cleans up erroneous timelines. Make it like a big slug. Something unassuming would be cool. A big amoeba. Something. Instead of frankly, something that looked like it could be from anything. And that's for Prodigy, that's very sad. So these Loom are very scary, but at the last moment, Majel, poink, took off her comm badge. She's no longer being beamed up because they were locked onto her comm badge. Now Majel is, Majel, you're on your own. Majel is somehow going to alone fend off these Loom. This is impossible. And when Wesley and crew in their little supervisor room find this out, because of Majel's aforementioned mental link with Zero, Dal, intercedes and says, "Listen, we're not leaving Majel out there." And Majel kind of is going to die. Wesley is willing to leave Majel die because they cannot afford to interrupt this timeline any further. Good idea, Wesley. But Dal again puts his feelings for his crew over the overarching idea of protecting time. So we have directives for protecting time, and Dal, on 2 occasions, is willing to ignore them. However, he's winning just by virtue of the writing that the first moment in Prodigy Season 2, he intervenes to save Chakotay, realizing in the process that he had to be there to begin with to get Chakotay to leave with the Protostar. So we're going to break the rules. In doing so, we reveal that the breaking of the rules was the rule in itself, and Dal just happened to be there at the right time for, in his brain, the wrong reasons, to save the day. It happens again. Majel needs to get into this room, and Dal says, "No way, I'm leaving her out of here." Majel needs to get back in here and be alive, not leaving anyone behind. Dal forces the issue, gets Majel into the supervisor room. Again, turning out to be the character who happened to be at this place at the right time to do the wrong thing, which ends up to be the right thing to do, not by virtue of Dal's intelligence, but by virtue of the fact that it was just written to work out that way. Very convenient for Dal. What does this mean? You keep breaking the rules, but you somehow keep fixing it? Very strange. Do you belong in Starfleet? I'm beginning to question that. So it turns out, like I said, Majel, you're the key to all this. We need Majel and all these other characters together to be in this place at this time, having this quantum signature to correctly transport to where Chakotay is. It turned out we didn't need Zero, Dal, Rok-Tahk, Murf, all those guys. We actually also needed Majel. Thanks, Dal. Now all 7 of you, I think it's 7, need to stand in this formation, and I'll beam you guys to where Chakotay is. I don't know where Chakotay is. I hope he's extremely far away. He must be so far away to require Wesley beaming us there with Traveler Tech. You know what I mean? Like, if they were really close, you would have wrote this so that at the beginning of this episode, they just went straight to Chakotay, not did this weird detour. But because of this weird detour, I imagine Chakotay is very far away, and the Protostar is fast. Go fast, as Dal says. I like to see that again. We do, thankfully, see the Loom consuming the Infinity. Bye-bye, Infinity. Looks like you got removed from this timeline regardless. Remember how the Infinity wasn't supposed to exist? It violates multiple treaties. It's gone now. It never happened. Very convenient. And I hate that ugly piece of crap. So I'm glad it's gone. Bye-bye, Infinity. But the Loom are still waiting to kill us, and right on time, the Voyager shows up. The Voyager motif playing. Voyager's in the sky. Oh, man. The Loom do get on the bridge. Again, this is Star Trek, right? It's easy to get on the bridge. You can just wander onto the bridge as a civilian, or you can invade the bridge as a gigantic alien with tentacles. I don't know how exactly they work. They seem to change phase for a moment in order to go through walls. They seem slightly impeded by walls and then not. They eat people on the Voyager. Janeway gets away, and they're in the shuttle bay. It's so awesome. Janeway flies the shuttle and is shooting at the Loom through with the shuttle, and she lures the Loom off the ship down onto this ziggurat, and she's fighting with the shuttle, and the shuttle crashes. Janeway gets out of the shuttle, runs through this whole ziggurat, doesn't get killed. It's awesome. It's earned. right? It's been so long coming to do this. It feels believable in a way. It's just so good. Janeway does find our characters. We do discuss it with Wesley. Wesley, in a sense, says it's out of our hands. This is time. We got to fix time. And we plead with Janeway to let us go. And when we say we're saving Chakotay, that's what puts it over the top. And Janeway basically just says, you know what? You guys do what you got to do. The Infinity's gone. That's good. I'm adding that one in there. And Wesley sends Janeway back to the bridge, uniform back on, and hopefully everything is happily ever after. But all those guys are gone from the timeline. That's kind of weird. How are we going to fix that? We don't see any of the long-term consequences of the Loom's actions here. That's asking a lot to appear in one episode, but I got a feeling we're just going to kind of forget it. And our characters beam to where Chakotay is, and our last scene, our last frame, in a sense, is revealing the protostar in this very cool-looking spot. It's just, what Prodigy, coolest-looking show ever. The protostar is there on this like hill of red sand surrounded by clouds, and I'm like, man, this is sick. It's just the geometry of the scene is so inviting, and it's so cool and so mysterious. And you know who else is inviting, cool, and mysterious? Chakotay, old-looking, tired Chakotay, just kind of sitting at the edge of the protostar. I guess waiting for our characters to arrive. I don't know if he was in contact with Wesley or they were kind of working this up behind the scenes. You see, Wesley was the character that was our mysterious benefactor, in a sense. He was the character that was talking to Murf. It wasn't Chakotay. It was Wesley talking to us, trying to get us to go to where we need to be while avoiding the Loom. And he failed because the Loom did end up on Voyager. And the Loom, since they're selectively stupid, they can't seem to like interpret what that stone meant with that spiral on it, or what the ship, the Infinity, what the control panel was saying. I don't know. They like to eat time stuff. Okay, they don't read, they don't deduce things, they don't use reason. They just like to nibble on us when we're invading time in some way. We do find Chakotay, and that's where the episode ends. That is the end of part 2 of Devourer of All Things. And we've learned that the Devourer of All Things is the Loom, and that's our kind of, I guess, our big bad this season. By the way, what happened to Solum? How does that play into this? I'm curious to find out now. Hopefully, if we can successfully wrap up these plot threads with the Loom, Chakotay, Wesley, what's going on with Solum, this could be pretty cool. But so far, it seems like kind of a lot of starts and stops. It seems like a lot of confusion. It seems like a lot of things that are frankly a little bit too complicated for my diminutive tiny brain to understand. I can say these things because we're halfway through, but it may completely change after the halfway point. The halfway point is exactly where we get to meet Chakotay with the protostar that has come back from the future and is in the wrong spot in the wrong time and needs to go back to the future. I guess, in a manner of speaking. How are we going to convince Chakotay to do this? I don't know. He's got a beard. Maybe that means he's hard to deal with. Star Trek terms. Facial hair could be a problem. I don't know. Mirror Universe being what it is. Are we going to have a Mirror Universe episode this season? I don't know. I'm actually not really spoiled on Prodigy Season 2. I don't know what's going to happen. I've managed to avoid it. It's hard, but I'm avoiding it. And thankfully, nobody's commenting on these episodes, so nobody's spoiling it for me. Because I do have to read the comments. Or not, if they look like a spoiler. Musically, you're winning here. Right off the bat, we got this thumping, mysterious tone playing in the background when we're finding this planet right at the beginning in part 1. We get the TOS jingle, and we get an interesting, like, kind of easy-listening, jazzy music when we're in the supervisor room. It's a real, all-you-can-eat kind of soundtrack here on offer. That it combines contemporary stuff in the supervisor room with atonal, terrifying music associating with the Loom. Pretty cool. Visually, we're just on a roll here. These episodes are so cool looking. I don't know what to say. One more cool looking planet, and it'll just be the coolest looking planets ever in a Star Trek show. We just keep going to cooler and cooler and cooler planets. The Protostar is here, looking awesome as usual. I love the Protostar now. Nacelles, I don't know, but you know how I feel about these things. That ugly Voyager is there. I don't like seeing that. And I'm going to give it points visually for, I think, eating away the infinity from the timeline. Thanks, Loom. You're not all bad. Plot-wise, it's actually not that good. It feels like lots of things are happening, but they don't. All that really happens is that we find Chakotay. At the beginning of Part 1, we came to this place to find Chakotay. At the end of Part 2, we found Chakotay. So I ask you, why could we have not written this so Chakotay was just in the ziggurat? Like here, we A to B, and then we go woo to get to B. When we could have just went and connected A to B. That's a meta way of looking at the plot, looking at where you were and where you ended up. In a sense, you could say that Janeway is now okay with us being gone, so we're kind of off the hook officially. That's one positive plot-wise element I can bring up. But other than that, it feels like another distraction. I don't know. Wesley is just kind of here to cause the path to A to B to take all these weird detours. And common for modern Trek to be long-winded to keep you subscribed because we're in the streaming era. But I think they could have really did this a lot better. Thematically, I don't know. This is I don't understand what we're saying. Like, what do we mean by the Loom devouring us and removing us from the timeline? What is this about? Is this kind of like a screed against timeline confusion with modern Trek? Is that what we're saying? We show this timeline in a hologram. We're explaining this to us, but what are we saying? What does it mean for the Loom to do this? What does it mean for us to defeat the Loom? What are we doing? Are we saving timeline confusion? Are we simplifying timelines? What do we want in a greater sense? I don't know what we're really saying here by saving Chakotay, fixing time, saving Gwyn. How do they connect? Not physically. What is the message, the story, the question, the bigger idea here? I'm not getting it on multiple views. I don't know what we're really saying, and I like to look at Star Trek through that lens. And in that regard, I'm left up. I'm coming up a little dry. So for Star Trek Prodigy Season 2, episodes 9 and 10, the middle point, the Devourer of All Things, Part 1 and 2, I'm going to have to go with a 5. I was going to say 4.5, but I said, nah, I'll go with 5. Janeway saves it. We get Action Janeway back. We get the supervisor room. That's kind of neat. It's a callback to old Trek, but it's not necessarily a callback I want. I don't think people really wanted Gary 7 shenanigans to come back, but here it is. It happened, and we have to deal with it. That's people who respect canon are willing to deal with things that happened in the past, even if they were stupid. And that's how I felt about this episode. These 2 episodes, I should say. What's coming up next? Well, I don't know. We're going to see. Are we going to be able to resolve all these crazy plot lines together? Are we going to be able to save the timeline? Are we going to be able to put Chakotay back where he needs to be? Who knows? But I'm ready to go on that adventure, and hopefully you're ready to watch those reviews that I put out. I'm Lieutenant Mark, and I'm going to see you next time I see you. Yeah, 7 out.